Oh my God, hon. This is bad. It looks pretty messed up.
Good. Good.
Okay, let me look at the... Oh, did we just... Oh! Will we ever boondock like this again? Did we wreck our RV trying to get to this spot?
I don't know if you say we wrecked it.
Before we talk about the incident, we're going to explain how we got to this amazing boondocking site.
It is beautiful here, and I don't know if I'd call it the incident.
We were at Red Cliff dry camping. It's about 3 hours away from here, and
that's near Big Sky, Montana.
Big Sky, Montana. And Mark from Grand Adventure, we were texting back and forth. He knew we were close by, so he's like, hey.
We've been trying to hook up with him like all summer.
So we decided that, hey, let's go ahead. This will be our first time boondocking, actually boondocking with the Boondocking King. So we're like, of course we got to do it. First of all, who is this guy, Mark, in case you guys don't know?
Well, Mark is from Grand Adventure. I'm sure you know the channel. He does awesome videos and locations and boondocking, and he tells the history and the story. Just an awesome RV YouTuber. And when I was first trying to get Alice in 2018 to bite onto living in an RV full time, I would show her all of Mark's videos where he'd be in these beautiful places like here in Montana, in the wilderness, completely alone. And I would show her the video and say, hey, this is what it's all about.
And we finally have actually done something that looks like one of Mark's videos, because he's actually been at this site before, but it's our time now. We are serious newbies at boondocking. And Mark was aware of this, and he knew how nervous I was.
We've dry camped extensively,
yes,
but boondocking and dry camping are not the same thing. So Mark knew this, and he texted us explicit directions and even did a little Google map and drew on the map like, go in here, don't go here, but
it didn't work out. Despite Mark's really good directions, something went wrong.
Just a little wrong.
A big wrong.
So normally I drive the fifth wheel and Alice is the passenger and navigator. But when we get close to sites, sometimes I like to drone. And obviously I can't drone and drive. No droning and driving at the same time. So I get in the passenger seat. Alice got behind the wheel about a half a mile from where we were going to turn off. And she's driving up the road.
Yeah, I'm fine with driving. Like, I've actually been on roads and I've actually made a turn and so on. So I knew I was just kind of driving up the road, but the turn to get off the road into the boondocking site was really hard to see. So I passed it, not by much, but I passed it. And I actually tried my hand at backing up, and that did not work out.
Yeah, she got a little cockeyed coming back, and I said, stop.
No.
And then we switched, and I got back in the driver's seat. But I left the drone in the air, just like floating up there, doing its own thing.
And then, what happened?
And then I back up, I get it straight, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh, that looks okay. It doesn't look too bad. But I think I get distracted because I had the drone in the air. And so then I go ahead and turn off, not realizing there is a huge ditch right off the road.
Yes.
And I underestimated the depth of the ditch, and I'll go driving and turning into the thing. We get there, and then it's like, I'm like, uh-oh, that does not sound good.
This was bad.
Is that a bad sound?
It was very bad.
After it gets stuck, Alice and I both get out to assess the situation. And at first, I looked at it, and like the back bumper was like stuck on the pavement. I'm like, no big deal. I get back in the truck. And I tried to back up, and it wasn't going anywhere. It's like the bumper was stuck, the bike hitch was stuck. It was really jammed into the pavement. I couldn't go forward or backwards.
And we had a wheel off the road.
One of the wheels was completely in the air.
So I was like, I knew Mark was close. I knew he had been here before. So I text him. I'm like, Mark, how close are you? Because we are stuck. And I swear it was like a couple minutes later, I'm like, you know what? There's an RVer coming, and I think it's Marc. I'm like, thank goodness.
Yeah, the other thing is, not only was Marc going to meet us here, but his buddy Dale and Ed were also going to be here, also in fifth wheels. Ed was already parked.
Yes.
But Dale and Marc were coming in at the same time.
Yes.
Pretty hilarious. So Marc gets out of the truck and we start to assess the situation. What it turns out is the wheels were almost completely off the ground. So the RV was balanced between the truck and the bumper with the wheels almost suspended. So we put a bunch of boards and wood under the wheels.
You jacked it up.
And the way I did that is I used the jacks, the levelers in the RV, and I jacked up the one side as far as I could, and then put a bunch of wood under. Then I jacked up the other side, put a bunch of wood under that, and then, you know, released the jacks and lifted the jacks back up, which now put the tires, and now the bumper is up off the pavement now. Now that we got the tires on the wood and we got the bumper off of the pavement just barely, Marc helped guide me back out onto the road and get it straight on the road again. So I had to go down the road, find a place to turn around. Alice and I went down the road and found a driveway to do a jackknifed 3-point turn. And so we turn around and come back down the road to come into the boondocking spot from the right.
But that wasn't it. It wasn't like, oh, we turned right and it's an easy way to get in. We still needed a lot of help, right? So it might be hard to see from the drone footage, but we have one person in front.
Yeah, Ed's in front, like guiding me in. Is like, okay, it's like the airplane guys.
Yes.
He's like this in front, and I got Marc in the back watching the bumper to make sure that it doesn't get messed up. So when we started getting to that point where the wheels are really getting into the ditch and the bumper's close, Marc is lifting up the bikes. I'm looking through the rearview mirror because there's such a tilt. I want to make sure that the truck bed doesn't tilt so hard that it hits the top of the fifth wheel.
It was very
Which is
close.
when we got stuck to begin with, that's what I was looking at. Instead of looking at the bumper, I was paying too much attention to the truck bed smashing the RV, because that happened to Marc not that long ago, and I was like all paranoid that was going to happen.
Once we got past the ditch, we still had to navigate on the road. Now, Ed was already parked because he was here before us, but we had Marc and Dale's RVs waiting on the road.
It wasn't an easy hill, too.
No.
It was a good hill with bumps. I mean, we're used to, like, even rec.gov campgrounds aren't that bad, but this was
challenging.
This was a challenging hill. But the best part is we get to the end, and we all wanted to be facing the opposite way, so we had to go down, and all three of us had to do a U-turn in the middle of this field.
It's a convoy.
Yeah, and you could see it in the drone footage where we had to turn around, and then we all had to find our little individual spots because there's four of us, four fifth wheels, all parked in a row on this awesome ridge here overlooking this lake right behind us.
And I have to say, we might have the best view. And Marc actually saved it for us because he's like, I parked here before, so I saved that spot for you. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think the other three guys have all been here before. This is our first time, so they gave us the best spot here.
I think they felt bad and want to make us feel better by giving us a good view. So I appreciate it, everyone. Did we learn anything from this?
I don't know. I don't know if I did learn anything. I hope so.
Well, what I learned is not to be embarrassed about asking questions. We asked Marc some questions, but we didn't want to sound like total newbies. So we're like, oh yeah, we get it. We got it. And I really should have said, you know, now that we know what boondocking is like, I can say, okay, how unlevel is the street? Is there any ditches? Is it better to go from the, I mean, there's so many things I could have asked instead of just looking at the pictures that Marc sent and said, oh yeah, we got this. Because we apparently didn't have this.
I think that I should have spent more time on Google Maps looking at the entrance and seeing why, you know, Marc was directing me the way that he was. I should have paid attention to that. And the other thing is, when we got to the spot and Alice and I switched, I should have got out and walked in that ditch and been like, okay, this is not going to work the way that we are lined up, instead of just plowing ahead and going into it.
Yeah, because even when we turned around, they guided us so we weren't even like on the road. We had to drive a bit through the grass, which is, another tip. We would have figured out that was more level over there.
Yeah, when we came back and redid it, Ed was guiding me from the front and Mark was guiding me at the back, making sure that it wasn't going to hit. And, not everybody's going to have that kind of help.
No.
And we won't have it the next time either, I don't think.
No.
So we're going to be,
We may not be invited back. I don't know.
Mark, are we invited back for the next boondocking adventure?
The other thing I learned, it's not really I learned, we know how low our RV is and our bumper because we've been pretty close at spots before. But for boondocking, I really wish that our back end was not so low.
Yeah, our back and front end of our RV are low. We have a drop frame style fifth wheel, which puts the front of the RV much lower than a non-drop frame. It's nice because it gives you this giant space inside your basement, but it makes it very low in the front.
Yeah.
And then, we had our spare tire back there.
Yeah.
We had a sewer tube as like my custom sewer tube back there. The bumper and the bikes that all make it really low in the back. And I should have, taken that into account when I went over the ditch.
Yes. And the other thing, and we've been talking about doing this, we do not like the bike rack we have right now. And the bike rack is actually a little lower part of it than the bumper. And that is what kind of got wedged in the road. Yeah. So we want a whole new bike system.
Yeah, I have a really, that's a 25-year-old bike rack, and I have my sewer tote strapped to it with a couple of bikes. I really need to get a nice bike rack that will be up higher so that when we get into situations like this, the bike wheels won't be dragging on. I won't have to have Mark back there lifting up the bike wheels over the ditch. The ditch. Yeah, you can do it next time.
Was this adventure worth it?
Baby, I love it.
What kind of damage? We're finally you saw, it was pretty scary. So what kind of damage did we wind up having?
I love the challenge, but we did have a little bit of damage. I had a custom created sewer hose tube under the RV and I just broke off one of the caps on one of the ends, a $5 fix, no big deal. I've looked under and checked out the leaf springs, the hangers, my sumo springs. Everything looks good, didn't get damaged. Luckily, I stopped when I did, and when I heard the sound, I didn't go any further. And, then we took our time jacking it up and getting it off of this stuck situation with as little damage as possible.
So basically, we now know what not to do next time we boondock. But you can see where we are. We are on a top of a mountain. We're overlooking a lake. We're in sweaters.
I'm actually cold right now.
Yes, we're actually a little cold.
It's mid-August and we're cold.
And, there's only 4 RVs here total. And we're all hanging out together. So one of the greatest parts, it's not just the view, but we got together with other people. We met new people. We went out to a cool little restaurant in a cute little town down below us. And
what do you like about boondocking? I like the solitude, having your own space. You can park where you want. You can angle your solar panels exactly you want. And just the peace of not being in a campground with a bunch of campers.
Strangers. We're only with people that we're like hanging out with and with like interests. And that's pretty cool that there's only 8 of us. There's only 8 of us. It's like a campground with only 8 people. And another cool thing about boondocking, and this is one of the reasons why I know Mark loves it, and Dale and Ed, they love it too, is the flexibility. We had reservations where we were supposed to be there right now, I think, at Hood River, but we canceled a few days, which of course, this is free. So we're saving money. And we decided, instead of making the reservation decide, we have to move on. We're moving on when we're ready to move on.
Yeah, I think that, if you're going from boondocking to boondocking to boondocking, you got a lot of flexibility, but you got to do a lot of planning.
Yes.
Marc has shown me what he does to plan finding and getting to these spots, and it's a lot of planning, but the payoff is there. It is awesome. You also have to be well equipped. You have to, have, solar and inverters and a generator, and you have to have your water situation squared away, where you're going to dump before and after. Those are all things you have to have squared away, and that's why it's good to do a lot of dry camping like we have first before you jump into heavy duty boondocking like this. One of the things that really helped me get out of this situation is that I really know our leveling system. I've had to troubleshoot it, and I've had to put it in manual mode lots of times, so I knew how to adjust just the back levelers, just the right levelers, and the left levelers individually to jack up one side, put the wood under, jack up the other side, and then retract all the levelers and then back out. If you don't know your leveling system on your fifth wheel, inside and out, get to know it. Play around with it one day. You put it in manual mode and really know it, because that is what really saved me on this problem. Was those jacks really helped me get out of trouble.
Yeah, we've had a lot of experience with unlevel sites because we do stay mainly at state and national parks. We hardly ever have a concrete pad at like a private campground.
They're almost never level. Now, the other thing is, because we are in unlevel sites all the time, we had a lot of wood blocks. I have 12 by 12 wood blocks and then 6 by 12 wood blocks. I had a ton of this wood. Now, the reason we have it is to help us level both under the leveling jacks and under the wheels when we get to some of these unlevel sites. I recently redid my brakes and all my bearings and everything like that. And I had all that wood so I could jack up the axles and the RV and stuff. So I kept it with me on this travels. And thank God I had it in the back of the truck, because that was what really saved us all that pile of wood that we had. Have you gotten yourself into a tough situation while getting into a boondocking spot? Please share your experience down in the comments section below.
You can also leave comments or questions on our Instagram and Facebook.
If you like crazy RV stories like this and want to see more, please consider checking out our channel, clicking the link down below. You can also subscribe. We got a couple hundred videos out there all about full-time RV living, so check it out. I'm also going to leave a link to a playlist right over here with normal RVing stuff like DIY videos and campground tours. And remember,
downsizing still makes sense.